Mm, 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 mm. First things first, welcome to CNN. I'm the underdog, Kirk Kennedy, fixing this camera. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. We ain't afraid to talk about them. Don't forget, if you are a believer of the Christian tradition such as I am, our faith comes from the event that happened in the past, but our hope comes from what's going to happen in the future. The day of the Lord, he shall return, and we will live in accordance with that. We will live in light of that reality, because that's what honors the Lord. All right, here we go. You know, they say this, they say every election year, you will see multiple, in 2016 and 2020, there were a lot of interactions with law enforcement, often ending the lives of black people. All right. And many people said that was propaganda to get black people to vote for the left and all of that. And I think there was some truth to that. I don't think that the left was like, okay, let's strategically make sure that people weren't actors, but there were these situations with law enforcement and black people that would, every election cycle, that would get black people fired up and ready to vote for the Democrats because they're going to stop this thing, right? Hasn't been happening too much this year. However, Tyreek Hill, a 7-time Pro Bowl selection from 16 to 2022, for first team All-Pro wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, formerly of the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, was the other day in a situation with law enforcement in Miami, Florida, before a game, and the body cam of police showed it. Now, some people asked me, was I going to do a video on it? And at first I was like, And then a good buddy of mine hit me and was like, bro, I'm interested to see what you think of it. I hadn't even actually watched yet. There's been so much other things going on. I didn't just gravitate towards it. Some of you asked if I do a video on it. I said, I might get to it. But then after watching the video, and I said, okay, let's have a conversation about Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins, or the Miami-Dade Police Department, all right? So we're going to watch this video together. It's about 3 minutes. I'm just going to walk through and narrate what happens, just give perspective. You can agree with this or not, but I thought this was interesting. And I think there's something that we have to be honest about that people don't like to be honest about, all right? So you know me, if you watch the channel, I'm going to try my best to just be honest and try to be objective, all right? So I do not have it out for police. I think they have a very difficult job. I have police officers that go to my church, and I love those dudes. I bang with them tough. And I would be very offended I'd be very hurt if something happened to them. They're friends of mine. I love them. I love their families. So I don't have any gripe. Even though I come from the streets where I didn't love police and all of that. But I understood, wow, I was a criminal. Of course I'm not going to listen, that's biblical. When the darkness and the light don't mix, right? You're living in the dark, you're not going to want the light. The police represent consequences and all and so forth, right? And then they got the blue and red lights, which are the same blue and red as the Democrats and Republicans, which is the same blue and red of the Crips and Bloods. But that's too deep for you. Y'all don't want that smoke today. Y'all don't want that today. All right, let's get into this video. Let's get into Tyreek and the Miami-Dade Police Department, and let's watch and see what happened here. All right, I'll probably stop. This is on Twitter, so I shouldn't get hit for this, but we'll probably stop it and see. But let's go here. Here we go.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Or what? Why you have it up? Hey.
All right, I don't know how well you can hear, but let me tell you what's going on here. So Tyreek Hill gets pulled over by police, right? He rolls his window down, gives the officer his license and registration, And there's a brief conversation, and the officer asks him, "Why don't you have your seatbelt on?" And Tyreek Hill says something like, "Man, I'm about to go in the game and play a game, man. Go ahead and do what y'all got to do," right? So he kind of is a little smart mouth with the cop, a little sassy with it, right? Basically, he's driving. Look at the car. It looks like, I think it's a Lamborghini. It's a nice car. Car's worth more than that police officer's salary for sure. And then after that, he rolls the window up, and then the cop goes back to the window and they say, hey, roll the window up. It starts talking. All right, so let's keep going.
Keep your window down. Danny.
Okay, notice that he says, "Put that window down." And then Tyreek Hill says something twice, like, it sounds like he said, "Press it, but it's hard to hear what he says. The cop looks over to the right, to our right, to his, where other cops are, and he looks to his left, wondering, looks like he's wondering, is anyone watching? Who's watching this right now? Who's watching this situation? All right? Let's keep going.
Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car.
All right, so I just want to make sure you can follow us. So Tyreek Hill rolls the window down a quarter at best, and these cops says, "Hey, keep that window down." And Tyreek Hill says, "Don't tell me what to do." And he says, "Keep that window down to get you out of the car." And then he says, "As a matter of fact, get out of the car." All right, here we go.
Give me your ass, bro. Get out of the car. Give me your ass, we'll break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 What part of law don't you understand?
Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin.
When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out.
You understand? Not what you want, but what we tell you. You're a little fucking confused.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too late.
All right, bro. Take me to jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We are. We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey, Drew. Hey,
don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. Can you stop crying?
bro. Y'all.
Don't move.
Good. Bro, you beating on my window like you crazy.
You set him up?
Why y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for? Damn, yo, bro, dude, beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin. Damn.
Hey, don't park there. Don't park there.
Hey. Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro.
I just had you in your ears when we got there with the window down.
Chill, bro. Hey, don't do, bro.
Back up.
Hey, call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro. Just call Drew. Hey.
All right, so at this point, so they, Tyreek Hill, he gets snatched out of the car pretty violently, slammed to the ground, and he gets handcuffed. And then there's some words that are exchanged. And then at some point, the cop who was beside him said, "Hey, have a seat." And then he said, "Okay, hold on, bro." And the other cop comes over, aggressive, grabs him, and he was like, "Hey, I just had surgery on my knee." In other words, saying he didn't want to sit down the way the cop wanted him to because he had surgery on his knee. Cop puts him down, and then now that particular cop, who's obviously more animated, is now talking to whoever Tyreek Hill's friends are here.
What am I doing that's wrong?
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen. Hey, man, they got Tyreek. The cops over here beating on him, man. They over here beating on Tyreek,
Listen, big man, don't park there, man. Just get in
Hey,
the car.
Drew,
Now he's saying, look, they got Tyreek, the cops over here beating on him. We can't see what's happening, right? We can't see what's happening. But he's saying beating on him. From my vantage point, I don't think they're beating him, right? Because the cop that was the most aggressive was just in front of him, and then he walked away. And this cop that's now talking to him is not as aggressive as the bigger cop was. I don't think other cops are beating on him, but this is the language that he's using. We're just trying to be objective about what we're saying, all right? This video's almost done. Then I'll just give you, what I think, if it matters to you. It may not matter to you at all. All right, here we go.
You gotta come, man.
Just get in the car.
Straight up the side on the side of the
Hey, get in the car. You're parked in the middle of the street.
I'm in the car.
You gotta go before you get a ticket.
Hey, you're in the car.
Who's the driver? This is my car. All right, move. I'll take that. You gotta move right now. Let me have your license. You're gonna have a ticket too. I'm coming. Let me have your license. You're gonna have a ticket. Let me have your license. I'm leaving. I'm not playing. Let me have your license. Your license right now.
What's going on?
Your license right now. You're not gonna give me your license?
Get in the car and leave.
You're not gonna give me your license?
I'm leaving.
Let me have your license. Your license right now.
Sir,
Hey, your license right now.
I'm leaving.
Or I'm gonna lock you up. Your license right now.
He just told me to
Your
leave.
license right now.
Sir, he just-
You're dealing with me now.
Sir.
Your license right now.
All right. Let's I honestly, for some people, this will be when videos like this happen, when stuff like this happens and it's caught on video, there's always one or two things that you wish had been done to see what would have happened had this been done, right? So I'm going to give you as best as I can an unbiased observation of this. And some of this video, we have to understand there are broader implications, bigger things happening, and that contribute to situations like this. All right, but let's just deal with Tyreek Hill. Here's the reality, and I'm sure I'll offend people on both sides of it. All right, here's the reality. This is what I think is happening. Now, let me qualify this. I don't know anyone's heart. Okay, I'm not the Lord, so I'm saying that on the front end. But you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, right? So out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Jesus makes that clear. So even though I'm going to make some thoughts and make some connections and tell you what I think I'm seeing and what I think is really happening here, and you take it for what it is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. People who tell you, do not judge or you will be judged, they misunderstand the scriptures. Jesus didn't say don't judge because you can't be discerning if you don't distinguish between good and evil. That's Hebrews 5:14. So let me give you what I think is happening here. I think there are two different kinds of arrogance that clashed here, all right? First was Tyreek Hill's arrogance, all right? So what we saw when he got pulled over, what we saw was the window was down and he's talking to the cop and he's giving the cop a little bit of lip, right? Now, Tyreek Hill knows that he's Tyreek Hill. I don't know if the police officer knows he's Tyreek Hill, one of the best wide receivers in the league. I don't know if he knows that, okay? So he's like, man, he gave him his license and then kind of gave him a little sassy mouth, and then he rolled his window back up, all right? That was a stupid move, okay? That was a dumb move. Now, I think Tyreek Hill did that in his arrogance because he was like, man, hurry, because he said, man, do what you got to do, man. Basically, like, go ahead, write your ticket and let me go. I think that's a result of Tyreek Hill knowing I'm one of the NFL superstars. I don't got time for this. Do what you got to do. Get out of my face and do that. He rolls his window back up. No bueno. No bueno. No good. You shouldn't have done that. Because he has tinted windows and you should know enough to know about how law enforcement and black people, how these things escalate quickly, right? Tyreek Hill, I think, is arrogantly thinking, man, I'm Tyreek Hill. My car costs more than your salary for the whole year. Like, do what you gotta do. Roll your window. I ain't trying. So so then the cop's like, roll your window down. And he's like, he says something to him like, press it. You can't hear exactly what he's saying. But he's basically giving the cop lip. Now, when I said, man, I wish he had there's the complied part. If he just would have kept the window down and did that, right? I've seen videos of white people cussing cops out and they'll never get snatched out the car like that, right? But I think Tyreek Hill, initially, his arrogance was, man, I don't feel like doing this, man. I got a game tonight. I'm getting ready to drop. I'm getting ready to score 100 yards, whatever he's thinking, right? He's Tyreek Hill. He's in a Lamborghini. He's doing this thing. And he gets pulled over by these, and he probably has a low view of police on one level. Again, this is all speculation. I don't know what he thinks of police. But I think that there's an arrogance there, all right? But then there's another arrogance. And there's an arrogance that I think from the law enforcement side that I feel like we have to be honest about, okay? We have to be honest about this. And because I do think Tyreek Hill was wrong in the way he carried himself. Like all of the getting pulled over, I don't know how often Tyreek Hill gets pulled over. I would imagine, though, that he doesn't get pulled over a lot. So, my guy, when you get pulled over, it's not that serious. The cops didn't come up to his window ready to snatch him out the car off rip, right? It's like, give the dude your license and registration and just chill. Let him write all the mouth and all of that. It's not necessary, right? I know a lot of people that do that. Do you know, I'm a big black dude, all right? And when there was that period of time where a lot of people were getting shot by police, and even though I knew that could be a possibility to be, because the whole thing is I fear for my safety, I never talked like that to police, even if I was irritated that they pulled me over. I just didn't do it. And do you know, I haven't had interactions with the police being pulled over that have been negative since probably when I was in the streets, 20 years ago. I just don't talk like that. I partly because I'm a Christian, people are made in the image of God. I want to treat them with respect, but I also don't want it to escalate. Tyreek Hill's arrogance was in that part. But then the escalation though became the arrogance of law enforcement, right? So then you saw, so let me show you this, because I want to go back to this real quick so you can see this too. All right. Let's go back to this. So you get Tyreek Hill. So let's go back. Here we go.
Hey, keep your window down.
It's not clear what Tyreek Hill says. It's like, press it. I don't know what he's saying. But the cop is looking around trying to figure out, if Tyreek Hill would have just rolled the window back down, what happens next may not have happened. Having said that, let's watch what happens next.
Hey, keep your window down. Keep your window down, I'm gonna get you.
You hear what Tyreek Hill said? Don't tell me what to do. You see, that's the arrogance I'm talking about. Don't tell me what to do. That's the arrogance. What are you talking about? Don't tell. Law enforcement is allowed to tell you what to do, fam. I'm sorry. It's just, even if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. We didn't like when our parents told us what to do, right? We don't like when our siblings tell us what to do, right? Law enforcement still has to tell you what to do, all right? But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me your ass, bro. Get out of the car. Give me your ass, we'll break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
You see what he said? Get out. I'm going to break that freaking window, right? Here's where the arrogance of the law enforcement officers is often on display. We'll watch a couple more seconds and I'll explain what I mean by the arrogance.
Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 What part of law don't you understand?
Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested.
Excuse me, I forgot the thing was on. I'm an idiot. All right, so some people, let's just be honest about law enforcement. Here's the arrogance of the law enforcement, all right? Here's the reality. Some people want to defund the police, right? There are people like, defund the police, and they may get rid of police, and it's like, that was the dumbest thing ever. Like, you saw what happened in cities like Portland and other. How'd that work out for you, right? We need police officers. They're a service in certain ways. But on the other side of that, we have to be honest, right? A lot of police officers are trained to have a God complex. And let me tell you what happens. Police officers will often, people will say, well, You know, he had his window up and he was fearing for his safety. And on one level, that's true, although it would be interesting to see what the statistics are in Miami, how many times in a situation like that, in broad daylight, with multiple police officers around, do black people shoot and kill police officers. I bet you the stat is low, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't have the data. Here's what I would say. Law enforcement has a God complex, and they treat themselves like they get offended. They get more offended that you're giving them lip or not doing what they say immediately than they fear for their lives. I believe this to be true. I'm not saying they never do, but in this situation, Tyreek Hill, first of all, law enforcement, they when you work in these high crime neighborhoods, you can tell who's a street dude and who's not, right? They can tell who's a street dude. They could tell Tyreek Hill driving in that car, but it wasn't a street dude. And I don't think they feared for their safety at all, which is why the dude was like, man, I'll break this window if you don't open it. They're not looking. If there were 4 guys in that car and it was like a bucket, they might have been like, hey, it could be something going on in there. I don't think they were afraid of Tyreek Hill. I think they were offended that he wasn't submitting to their commands in the way that they wanted. And I think this is a real problem with law enforcement. This is one of them. So, and I think the evidence is when Tyreek Hill cracked the window, that they could see he had no gun. So and you don't open the car door and snatch somebody out if you think they have a weapon. You draw your service weapon and you tell them, open the door, put your hands out the window when you're afraid for your life. These officers were not afraid for their safety. They were offended that they weren't being listened to and submitted to right away. And I think this is a widespread reality for law enforcement. That's one. A lot of times law enforcement, because they have their own constitution, they are the enforcers of the law. Every time law enforcement is involved, a deadly weapon is at play because they at least have a gun. They have the green light to enforce the law, and that's true. But here's the other side of it, though. And this is mostly stuff that conservatives kind of talk like. We treat law enforcement like they're not human beings. This is the second major problem with law enforcement. We treat them like they're not human beings. And this is a big problem. Because I have 3 officers, 3 or 4 that are in my church, actually 5 now. I've talked to them and asked them, like, what's it like? And you know what I've realized? We don't treat them like, we treat them like they're RoboCop, like they're supposed to be able to discern every situation and make sure that they know who's a threat and who's not. Listen, police are human beings. They're human beings. And let me explain what I mean by this. They have bad days. They're affected. For all I know, this cop, one of these cops, could be in the midst of a divorce whose wife left him for a black dude. I'm just being hypothetical, but I'm making a point. They're real people. We treat them like they don't have any flaws, any errors. They're not going to, and they don't give these police officers any help. You want to defund the police? This is what you need to do. Police officers need to take mandatory therapy. These people are human beings. They have bad days. They get stressed out, and they honestly see the worst of the people, right? In the Christian church, there's a segment of churches called deliverance, right? Where they do deliverance, they're casting out demons. And people are going back and forth on whether they think deliverance ministry is legitimate or not. Some people are faking, but some people really have demons that, if you're a police officer, you're watching people do demonic, satanic things all day, especially if you're in high crime neighborhoods. You don't think when a police officer pulls up and sees that a young girl was assaulted, that he's not offended, that he doesn't have a daughter that age? We treat them, there's 2 different ways we treat them. One, the conservatives, they treat police officers like they are perfectly self-controlled specimens. So if they ever lose their cool or do anything against the law, excessive force, it had to be they were agitated to it. That's not humanity, fam. You treat these people like they are No, these people are offended. They're tired. They're overwhelmed. They don't get, and matter of fact, it's not even encouraged that they take therapy. They get frowned upon for taking therapy. They're human beings. You can't, why do you think when people go to war and they come back and they've seen their buddies die and killed, they're drastically different? They get PTSD. I know police officers. That's why they said that they have one of the highest divorce rates in that particular job occupation, because you get PTSD And when you're pulling over people a lot and you're just you're getting tired of people giving you lip. You think police officers aren't getting tired of just, I got to pull this guy over and you're giving me lip? And the conservatives act like they're such perfect self-controlled specimens that whenever they act out, it had to be the person's fault, especially if they're black. And the reality is some police officers, some of them are just not good people. They're just not good people, or they're offended, or some of them need to take a desk job for a while. You right now have PTSD. You are stressed out. You are angry. You are offended, and you're tired of it. You should not be on the street. That aggression went from 0 to 100. That wasn't an aggression because they feared for their safety. It was an aggression because they're tired of this guy being sassy and not doing exactly what they say. But I bet you if those cops have police, your children don't always do what you say. I bet you if you have a certain type of dog like a husky, that dog doesn't do everything that you say. Your wife doesn't do everything that you say, but you are not snatching her out of the car. You are not. If you are, you're gonna lose your job. If you beat that dog because it's not doing what you say, then you're gonna have problems with when they call. I forgot what I was about to call CPS, but that's Child Protective Services. When they call the Humane Society, I forgot who they call for if you're disrespecting the dogs or pets. I just think like there is a green light that police officers have to do this, right? So one, there's an arrogance, there's a God complex. I've seen officers go from 0 to 100 because you didn't do exactly what they said the second they said it. And it's like, listen, bro, if you're going to be a cop, you have to accept the fact that people are not going to just do whatever you say. So Tyreek Hill was in the wrong, but then the officer's arrogance comes in, right? The third thing, I think, is the problem here, particularly with the law enforcement officers, and I think this is widespread and this video is indicative of it. I think law enforcement officers often, I think they often are, well, I said they're not treated, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this. The left doesn't treat the law officers like human beings either. The left acts like these people should never be offended, afraid, agitated, none of that stuff. So the minute they show any signs of it, you get offended. Like police are supposed to be the Stepford, like they're all from Pleasantville, and they've all, hello, and thank you. Would you please give me your license and registration? No, these people are tired. And the left acts like as soon as, I've seen videos where people were wilding out and police officers shot them, and then there is uproar. And I was like, hey, listen, fam, if I was that police officer, I'd have shot them too, bro. Like if you're coming at me and I got a wife and the kids at home, and it's between Tupac said, if it's my life or your life, if it's my life or your life, I'm not going to be like, well, I don't want people to get offended online and think this is racism, so I'm going to let him do whatever he does to me. So that, man, black, that's a wrap. I mean, that's just his job. You cannot approach. But the left acts like, oh man, everything, unless he was he had perfect fruits of the spirit and was love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. No, they're human beings, fam. These people, honestly, I think a lot of police officers need therapy, and they're not encouraged to do that. Then you got the police officers' constitution where they have their own set of laws. When in most cities, most states, when police officers, are in a situation where they have to be investigated for a shooting or a killing or something like that, the people that review the stuff are usually former police officers and former police commissioners. That's why the vast majority of these things get thrown out. And so I think there's this sort of expectation on both the left and the right that puts these police officers in this weird world where you give them the green light to be aggressive and all of that. All right. Let me tell you why they need therapy. And I don't mean it in a general sense, like to mock them. I'm being serious. I think most police officers who do the grunt work of being in these situations where you're maybe, I don't know where Tyreek Hill got pulled over. I don't know if it's a high crime area. I don't know that. So I don't know if they're used to like seeing criminals, but I don't know. It didn't look like it. But anyway, they need to sit down with a therapist monthly to be reminded that, hey, you know what? Humanity is still decent, right? These people are still human beings. Don't assume that every black person is a criminal. Don't assume that every Latino man is doing. Don't assume they're still human beings. Like you have to remember that for all the people that you arrest, there are people that are obeying the law. I know officers who will tell you they do not think that way about most people. They're jaded. The guys at my church, they have to fight to think of people made in the image of God. And these are believers who are actually going actively against it. Their pastor is their friend, and we can talk about it. They hear me teach these things. But most of these people are not believers. They don't have anything to remind them of the humanity of people. They have fellow officers who will often agree with and like sometimes the ability to be excessive. We have to stop being, these are people. Stop treating police like they're these perfect specimens that never lose control unless they were provoked unnecessarily. No, sometimes they're just in a bad mood. Sometimes they're struggling, and that's a reality, right? I think that's more what's happening in this Tyreek Hill situation than anything else. People will always say, oh, they fear for their safety. Man, when you fear for your safety, you ain't opening up the door and snatching nobody out of a car. If you think they have a gun, you're going to pull your service weapon out, aim at them, and be like, get out of the car. Woo, 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 woo. I'll shoot, and then it goes to that. That's not what's happening here. I think they knew. If they didn't know who Tyreek Hill was, I don't think they knew he was a threat. The threat was, how dare you talk back to me? And I think police sometimes are allowed to be aggressive in that. One more level to this. One of the guys at my church, I had him, when me and Strack were doing cross-examine, he came on my show and we talked about law enforcement. He was in Philadelphia. He was in North Philadelphia at a police precinct that had one of the highest crime rates in the country. And he was telling us stories about what would happen. And it was crazy, right? These men and women see the most satanic, demonic things, and they get no help for it. And if you think that you can be affected after watching this stuff over and over, you can be unaffected over and over and over again, you're delusional. And I think it's sad that police aren't encouraged to get help, as if somehow it's like being solved. That's why soldiers come back from war and they feel depressed because they shouldn't have PTSD. Yes, you should. You daggone right you should. Because you're seeing some of the evilest stuff. If you're a cop and you've never seen a dead body and you pull up on the scene and you see someone with their head blown off and you see them on the street and their blood, that ain't like watching the movies. That's real blood. That's real guts. That's real. That stuff will make you throw up. You see going to a house where there was that stuff is crazy. The average human psyche is not prepared for that. But my buddy was saying that when he was trained in Philadelphia, he said these were his words. And you have to just trust me, otherwise it's like Kamala Harris and Donald Trump saying, well, I talked to these people and they don't trust you and support you. I met with them and they think my plan's the greatest. That's all hearsay. Those people aren't there saying, yep, she's right, no, he's right. That's all hearsay. So take it for what it is. But he said that when they were trained, there were in the training to be a police officer. He said that there were only 2 black police officers there, himself and another guy. And he said all the training videos were of young black aggressive men. And after like the 3rd or 4th video, if I'm not mistaken, he said him and the other black guy looked at each other and were like, man, they were all showing black men being aggressive and all. This is the training. If you're training police to see people like this, then it makes total sense why they're on edge. And they're allowed to be like this with the ability to take someone's life. You train them to be anxious and on edge. You want that. That's why they need therapy, fam. They need that. And I'm talking about mandatory therapy because they need help realizing, hey, these are still people. There's an arrogance that comes with enforcing the law, a certain God complex that you're that dude. Right, you're the one that they better listen to what you say. This is just an analogy. It's not a one-to-one. But remember in Doctor Strange, I'm a Marvel comic cinematic universe guy, right? So in Doctor Strange, the irony of Doctor Strange was he was a brilliant doctor. He was arrogant and expected everyone to do what he said. He compared himself to, I need this, give me the scalpel, I need that. He was an arrogant dude. He had a God complex. And I think they even mocked him for that a little bit. His girlfriend, or at the time was his girlfriend, kind of made reference to that. And then when he got in the accident, his hands got messed up. That was the first thing to go. Remember, that's why he went on this journey to get his hands fixed. and then he end up becoming Doctor Strange, right? I think that happens with police. You get this God complex that says you're allowed to enforce laws. And then we're not even going to talk about quotas. There are officers that have to get quotas. Listen, you work for the city. You got to make money for the city. Tickets make money for the city. I know I got friends that said, look, there are times they got to, like, hey, stay off the streets, man. We're going to be giving more tickets around these last 2 weeks because we got to make our quotas for the year. Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they're annual quotas you got to make. And most cops don't feel like doing the paperwork. They don't like to do stuff. You'd be surprised how many cops don't want to do stuff because it's paperwork. You know, so like, but then they like, hey, man, we got to get these quotas. You know, we got these incentives. We got to make money for this. So they giving more tickets out, Cops could say, don't worry about it. You know how many times a cop has let me go? Yeah. So all that to say, I think the Tyreek Hill situation is arrogance clashed with arrogance. And I think the problem is, if you're a conservative, unless they go after Donald Trump or somebody that you really respect, you don't have a problem with law enforcement. As long as they're going after a particular group of people that look like me, I think you just don't have a problem with law enforcement. They can be aggressive or whatever because you already fit. And I don't think in these situations like that, they weren't afraid of Tyreek Hill. They weren't afraid at all. They could tell they were probably mad because he's a black dude that's getting money and he got, and then he was sassy with it. Tyreek Hill, his arrogance is the arrogance of celebrity. You think because you're a celebrity that you get to just you're above the law. And I think that we treat celebrities like that. Like we'll let someone like Hugh Hefner, no one will say anything about a dude who's like 81 dating 22-year-old. Bill Belichick is like 69 and his girlfriend's like 24. In the rest of the world, in the real world, we would call that out like, when I grew up, right, we would call dudes who graduated from high school that were trying to mess with high school girls, we would be like, man, they robbing the cradle, right? They're robbing the cradle. But then Diddy can date girls that are younger than his daughters or their age or whatever, and no one cares. We treat celebrities a certain way. And I think sometimes these officers just get tired of celebrities thinking they can be treated however. So they may not have known who Tyreek Hill was, but they knew he had money because you ain't driving that. You don't steal that car and ride around in a Lamborghini like that. That's not what you do. You got money. They knew that. And they got tired of it, right? And the other dude he was on one. I think a lot of these situations are, yes, there are aspects where these people are not complying. This is simple, fam. Just give him the license and registration. If he's jumping out there, he's jumping out there. But just, you want to de-escalate. And that's the last thing I'll say. The problem with law enforcement is they are also trained to de-escalate. They're also trained to de-escalate. They know how to be like, look, sir, I don't want to have to arrest you, but you got to put your window down. It's not safe for us. I need you to put your window down. I don't want to arrest you, guy. And, he could have said something like that, right? The other guy came over. He could have told his partner, whoa, calm down. I got this. Remember at the end of the video, the other cop was like, hey, get back in your car and go. And he was like, look, he told me to go. He was like, no, you're dealing with me now. Give me your license. They just go back and forth. You don't even know who's in that situation. You don't know who's in control, right? They just could switch at any moment. They know how to de-escalate. They're trained to de-escalate situations. But when you're arrogant and you think like, hey, I'm above the law and I can do this and I can do that, then you agitate. And I think a lot of times they agitated this situation, yanked this dude out of his car. Keep in mind, he didn't swing on them. All he did was talk back to them a little bit. To be yanked out of your car like that and then thrown on the ground, on the concrete, they're pulling your arms back knowing that hurts, and they pick you up and they tell you to sit down. If I were to tell you, all right, stand up right now, put your hands behind your back like you're cuffed and just sit down. Do you know how hard it would be? Because it's not until you can't use your arms that you realize how much you need your arms for balance. Like right now, if you have 10 toes, you're doing fine, right? But I bet you if you break like one of your toes, God forbid, I don't want this one. If you break one of your toes, like the fourth toe, right? You don't realize how much that little toe helps your balance of walking. It's not until you sprain it or something and you realize like, man, I didn't realize how much I lean on that toe, right? You can't just sit down on the ground when your arms are tied in a way that they're not used to be and there's pressure. And then he said, man, my knee, he could have said, he kept going, all right, twin, take it easy, twin. Like these people, these are police officers, man. They ain't trying to hear all that twin stuff. First of all, you ain't twins. Y'all look nothing alike. That's just slang. But so they didn't know. And then the other guy, when he came over and then put him down, he was like, hey, I just had surgery on my knee. He should have said that from the get-go. Maybe he did and we didn't hear. I don't know. But I just think like, yeah, I said a lot. I think a lot of this stuff, I think Tyreek Hill was definitely wrong. But I think this is a case where I think just police officers are given a green light in many ways, to be aggressive. And a lot of times they're aggressive. They act out not because they're afraid for their safety, but because they demand immediate respect, immediate. And yet no one gets that, man. No one gets that. Teachers don't get it. How you can't become a teacher and then get offended when students don't listen. This is the job. You don't sign up for the military and expect the enemy. Okay, they're not going to shoot back at you. They're going to wait until you reload, and then it's the job, man. It's the job. And I think sometimes officers just look at it like what they get to do and forget that these are people that they also may have had negative interactions with police, and when they get pulled over, they're just tired of it. That's just a reality. That's a reality. I think police officers need mandatory therapy because I think a lot of them have PTSD. They're stressed out. They're overwhelmed. They're real people. I mean, can you imagine, a cop gets into a screaming match with his spouse and he slams out and he goes to work and he's driving and he's just tired of it and he's angry and all this stuff. And then he sees someone swerve and so he pulls them over. Do you think he immediately goes, hello? Can I have your license and registration? No, he's like, license and registration. And as soon as the dude says something, then he's already 0 to 100 because we're just human beings. The left treats them like they should be RoboCop and never get anything wrong and never be off. And the right acts like they're not sinful. They don't have a sin nature. They only do what is right. And so if they do something wrong, it's because it's the other person's fault. And it's just like they're human beings, fam. They need help. They need grace. They need a lot of things. But they also need to be trained a little bit differently. And so that's what I would say on the Tyreek Hill. Let's go to the tape. Let's go to the tape, to the tape. Thank you, Rich. You was one of the people that told me to do this. Yep. Real rap. Tyreek took an L on this. Yeah, man. But you can't comply like that without. Come on, exactly, man. Like, what are we doing right now? Like, come on, man. Black people sometimes we be wilding, man. We be acting like we can just talk, however, to the police and they just gonna take it. It's like, nah, bro. You wouldn't let somebody talk to you like that. I know black dudes that wouldn't let somebody talk to them. They'd punch somebody in the face for talking to them, but you're gonna do that to the police and expect them not to respond. I just think that's crazy. There's another video that shows one of the officers in a calm manner explaining to the other Dolphins players who came. But yeah, I saw that. And it made clear sense. 100%. I saw that. From what I understand, he was going 20 miles over the speed limit. 15 is considered reckless driving and can lead to him being. Has anyone mentioned that aspect of the situation? I didn't mention it, Anthony, but I'm sure other people have. But then, honestly, in our culture, again, because of the way we are, the way we think police are, like if you're on the left, police officers should never they're not human beings. They just never gonna, and on the right, they never do anything wrong. It's like, but here's the reality. Even if he was going over the speed limit and was considered reckless, police officers, they have the law, but then they have their own jurisdiction. My friend told me he lets a lot of people go for even stuff like suspended licenses or whatever, tags are expired. They have the ability to, so even if he was going over and it's considered reckless, maybe in the language, but they didn't think he was reckless. They just didn't like the fact that he wasn't listening. I think that was the real issue. Facts, no bias. Tyreek instigated the whole thing. Yeah, he did. I agree. I think it could have. Well, I think he instigated it, sure, but the other officer was already like hype because he threatened him. I'll break this. You'll break your window. Like I think he just was like, I'm not going for it today. So I think he caught a cop who was like, I'm not going for it. All right. This is why I appreciate your viewpoint. You read between the lines of situations. Yeah. Thank you, brother. I try to, man. Cold Spring, you were hitting on all cylinders, Kurt. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. What are your thoughts on qualified immunity being taken away from cops who are wretched, abusing their power? I think they shouldn't have it. I think they shouldn't have qualified. I think you should go in front of a jury of your peers of humanity, not the peers who are fellow police officers, because they're going to 99% rule in the favor of the judge. There is a policeman's constitution where they have their own set of laws and rights. And like prime example, if you file a complaint against a police officer, right, before he has to give his version, he's allowed to read in detail what your complaint was before he's required to give his version of the story. That stuff is just crazy. That stuff is in the court of law. You don't do that. I mean, there's discovery and there's things, and you have to eventually give the prosecution or the defense your case. But like you don't do that. You don't have to. It's just crazy stuff, man. So I think police officers are given a sort of green light that I think puts them it sets them up for failure. I think, to be honest with you, it should be crooks or crooks, 100%. Carlos Ray, it's from both sides. I agree with you. Come in late, Rwanda tape, baby. Yep, 100%. Future and Rich, these are two of the OGs, the Kirk Kennedy OGs right here. I don't think anyone should be able to hide behind a badge. 100%. I think, and that's the other culture that we just that we live in. Is like we treat certain people with a status that we don't treat other people with, and they are like judges. If the judge is in a good mood, they go lean. But if they're in the bad, if they're in 100%, Carlos, listen, they're human beings, fam. I don't know why we act like police. The conservatives do. The conservatives act like that. They act like police are like perfect specimens, fam. These people, I know that everyone's not a Christian, but these people have a sin nature. They have the Adamic nature. If you do not accept Jesus Christ, you do not have the Holy Spirit that can change you and change you to demonstrate the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. Now, it doesn't mean that every police officer, there's common grace, and the Lord is. I mean, if you think about it, I'll never forget this. This is when I really understood common grace. One of the times I understood it. I was watching a soccer game, right? It was in another country. It was a big game between these two cities. And there were 100 and some thousand fans in there, right? And they were all chanting, getting hype as the game was coming to an end. And there were police officers that were dispatched to be around the stadium, right? But there were like 30 police officers around the stadium, right? And then all of a sudden, someone started yelling, because they knew that they knew that they were going to rush the field. So the police officers were there to try to prevent them from rushing the field. Man, why did someone start saying, "You can't stop us"? You can't stop us. And the whole crowd is yelling that. And as soon as that game was over, they rushed onto the field, right? But then I've seen times where the crowds didn't do that. They listened, they submitted to the far less. I mean, you talk about 100,000 people versus 50 cops. They would get crushed. And I was like, wow, Lord, you really give people a fear of law enforcement that even though law enforcement is vastly outnumbered, people will submit to it for the most part. And that's the common grace of God. All right? I just think in these types of situations, we just don't treat police like they're human beings. And when we watch them, we're evaluating them based on our expectations of how they should be. And I just think it's just wrong. Facts, I agree. That future, yeah. Okay, y'all having your own convo. Judges should be the most objective of all, 100%. Sure, I agree, but that is what makes them human, right? I'm not sure what I said or who you're talking to there, but a 24-year-old who is dating a 69-year-old has issues and vice versa, 100%. And she wouldn't be dating that dude, Bill Belichick, if he wasn't Bill Belichick, right? It's status. But a lot of society will talk about it like, hey, because when you're in that echelon of society, it's okay. But if I tried to date someone who was 25 years younger than me, they'd be like, oh my gosh, it'd be a scandal. It's just funny how people are, and I think cops get that. So that's a celebrity thing, but I think cops get that as well. They get a certain special treatment as well that I think is not good for them. It's not till you knock that toe in the corner of the bed frame, 100%, that you realize how important that bad boy is, 100%. All facts. Thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. The likes are low, fam. Let's do the right thing. Man, y'all be carrying me on that, man, for real. Y'all be... I try to give you the word, to give you the truth. Y'all could at least like and subscribe to the channel, fam. We've been at 4,100 too long, bro. Too long. It's cop pride. Sometimes they jump through the roof and get too aggressive. I understand passive-aggressive behavior, but there's a thin line and officers shouldn't cross. 100%, bro. 100%. There are videos of officers on the internet getting rebuked by their superiors over stuff like this. And sometimes they do pull people out of cars, like if they refuse to go. Yeah. I think in this situation, both are wrong, and I think there is it was arrogance met arrogance, but Tyreek's celebrity arrogance is not greater than law enforcement arrogance. Not in this situation. Both are dead wrong. Well said. You can't talk to me like that, Tyreek Hill. He was called him twin. I know that's just slang. Like, all right, twin, take it easy, twin. Go ahead and lie me, twin. I just think, Is it true that the inception of cops were slave caters? Sure, 100%. I mean, I don't know. So that's funny you say that. I was telling my friend this. I didn't intend to say this because it would sound woke. I didn't intend to say this, but this is the reality. Historically, if you look at the purpose of law enforcement, historically, particularly with the black community, it was during Jim Crow laws, after slavery, Civil War. They would have what was called vagrancy laws, right? Well, they could just go out and arrest black people for just being on the corner. And they would give you these inordinate amount of prison time so that you would work in the prison, basically doing the things that you would do as a slave, now you're doing as a prisoner. So you get 5 years for jaywalking. Just certain things, right? Certain things that would happen. And it was always the case where if you were black or if you were poor white, more black, but then poor white was the next category of people that were just mistreated unfairly, given these lopsided prison sentences to work in the prison. Just all this stuff, right? So there was a sense. This is where, KRS-One, a rapper, he has a song called Black Cop. Black Cop, Black Cop, Black Cop, Black Cop. And then the cop, he says, Overseer, 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 Officer, Officer. So he's just giving you this sort of, that's what they're overseers of the black community. And that's not that way now. It's just, they're just a government entity that enforces the law. But I think there is a history of that. That I talked about. If you go get my album, The Appendix, Kirk Kennedy, The Appendix on iTunes. And I got a song on there where I highlight this. Let me tell you what it is. It's funny. It's been so long since I've even thought about this stuff. It's hilarious. I don't remember the name of the song right now. And I should be ashamed. I don't remember the name of the song. Hold up. What am I doing right now? The Appendix. I got a song on The Appendix, and it's called PSA. And in the end of this song, you will hear the then FBI director explain the history between black people and law enforcement and why he tries to teach officers to be careful. I think there's just a reality there. Rich, appreciate you. Whap, 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 whap. Kendrick, whap, 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 whap. Appreciate that, brother. Thank you. I came in on the end, so I need to listen. I'm pretty sure it's a good take on it. I don't think police should be given the green light. On the lighter note, what's up with the snack cakes in the back? So here's the reality, right? Man, but you gonna call me out of my own home, man, about snack? Nah, so we got a little bit of an ant. We came back from sabbatical, and I just had these little bit of an ant problem. So I got this spray that my worship leader put me hip to this spray, and it's been killing them. But then when we think like they're gone, like it'll be like this. So we had ordered some, actually these bad boys. We ordered these cinnamon swirls and put them in the pantry. Man, there was a line. Ants be just like, they just was right inside that, but all that. So we keep them in my office until we're good that the ants are gone completely. So they're there for that. But I appreciate that. Appreciate you judging me. Those are for my kids. But I forgot they were there, but now I'm tempted to grab one. All right, man, I got to get out of here. Appreciate y'all, man. I got to lead the meeting at church. And I love my church, so I'm glad I love them. Because Caitlin Clark didn't play at 7, and that meeting starts at 7:30. So from 7 to 7:30, I'm going to be watching the game. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. Thanks for subscribing. Like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for the super chats, man. You can give me those super chats even when it's not on the video. Whatever you want to do. Let's get up, though. Let's get up. We on our way. We on our way. We getting there. Stop watching these videos, liking them, and then not subscribing, man. I'm giving y'all that work, man. I'm giving y'all that work, twin. What you doing, twin? All right, y'all. See y'all next video.